And good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Saturday Night Wine Stream. And welcome to Drink with Rick. I'm Rick, and tonight we are going to try a Spanish wine that I'm really excited to try here. This is a Hecula, a Monastrell. It's a 2015, and I'm really looking forward to opening this bottle of wine. I'll tell you why. I was at the wine store. I picked this up at our local wine store in Blakeney, and this was over a month ago, I think. And I've had it sitting up here on the shelf. If you've noticed some of the previous wine streams, I've had it on the shelf here. And I've really wanted to open this wine a few times, but I've been waiting for just the right time. And I think this is the right time to do it. I did a little tasting of this when they had it up to the wine store to try out, and it was just a slight tasting, but I really enjoyed it. It was very different, and of course the little mild tasting. I don't remember exactly what it tasted like. I just remember that I really liked it enough to purchase a bottle, and I'm looking forward to opening this up because I wanted to sort of relive that. It was very I would say it was a little unusual, I would have to say. So I'm looking forward to trying this out tonight, and I hope you'll join me as I do that. Hopefully this bottle will be every bit as good as the one that they opened up and tried in the wine tasting that I went to. But that was some time back, so we'll see how this works. Anyway, first of all, I want to say hi to everyone who's joining me. First of all, Charles is with us in the chat. Hi, Charles. Great to see you. Join me in the chat. Tell me what you're drinking, what you're not drinking, what you like to be drinking, what you like to see me drinking. And sit back and just tell me what's going on with you, and we will have a good time. Let's see what's going on in YouTube. Looks like you usually don't get a lot of. I get some people watching YouTube, but I don't get a lot of people actually in the chats usually. Every once in a while I'll get some comments in there, but I'll keep an eye on it. I'll try not to forget you guys. I think it was last week that there wasn't anything happening in that chat for a while, and I really sort of went on to Facebook and watched that chat, and then later on I popped back over to YouTube and I realized, oh wait, people have been chatting with me and I didn't see them, and I want to apologize for that. I'll try not to make that mistake again. There's a lot going on because I'm watching a lot, I'm doing a lot all at once, so if I miss you, if I don't see you right away, just forgive me. Just really understand that I'm watching a lot of things all at once. So I'll try to catch you as soon as I can on that, and because I don't want to miss anyone, I really don't, and I enjoy chatting with all my friends. I have also with me, with this bottle of wine, I have put together a small platter to see what pairs well with it. And tonight, it's kind of basic. I have some, let's see, let me get a close-up on this. I have some, nothing really spectacular, of course. A little turkey pepperoni, some club crackers, a little beef summer sausage, and some mozzarella cheese. I don't know if that any of this is really going to pair well with this particular wine. I think this particular wine might go well with some grilled meats. I'm just guessing based on my brief tasting of it before and on my experiences with some Spanish wines in the past, and particularly like a Monastrell. I'm just guessing, but I think we'll try it out and see what happens. I don't have any grilled meats tonight. We did have a little pasta tonight. I wasn't really impressed with that, and that wasn't my wife's fault. My wife, she's a wonderful cook. She did not cook this one. She just kind of heated it up. She purchased it at BJ's, I think, BJ's Wholesale Club, and it was kind of pre-made. She just kind of brought it home and heated it up to try it out, and I don't think any of us were really impressed with it. Personally, I prefer her cooking. She does an excellent job with it. So, and she does make a really good chicken parmesan. I think that's what that was. She makes a really good chicken parmesan, and I enjoy it. And hopefully, we'll have it again soon, and I can pair it up with a really nice bottle of wine, maybe I don't know, maybe a Chianti or something. Anyway, I have some other things to talk about, some things that happened today that's I'm really kind of I'm still it's still bothering me. I'm a little kind of hot about it, and I kind of want to share that with you. And it's got a little bit of a rant, I guess, but it should be entertaining at the very least. Also, birthdays, anniversaries, national days. We're going to toast all of that. I also want to let you know that you can watch us, of course, on Facebook. If you're on Facebook now, all my friends on Facebook, you can catch us Facebook Live right there on the Facebook page, Drink with Rick, or the Drink with Rick Facebook page, I should say. And I haven't had any of this yet. I mean, I'm just a little too excited tonight. I think that's what it is. You can also watch on YouTube at Drink with Rick on YouTube, and you can watch us live at drinkwithrick.com. That's the website, drinkwithrick.com. You can catch it live. I don't really have it set up to do chatting there on the site just yet, maybe one of these days, but you can, of course, chat with me on YouTube and on Facebook, and you can also tweet me on Twitter, because I have Twitter open here, although I'm not streaming directly to it tonight. You can tweet me, and I have that, I'm monitoring that from time to time, so let me know how you're doing there. We are also on Instagram, although Instagram, they don't do any real streaming on Instagram, so, you know, we're there, though, if you're an Instagram fan. I know some people are. I have been told that Twitch is also something that I need to really try, and I looked at Twitch before, and I thought it was really more of a gaming kind of platform, but Tommy was telling me, my son Tommy has been telling me that other people they have channels there for other people that are into different things, and I'll give it a try. Maybe next week I'll start streaming on Twitch as well. We'll see what happens. I understand that it's kind of a hopping place these days. Twitch is, and there are a couple of other platforms that I'm looking at maybe expanding to. Looking to set up a Reddit thing going down the road, but and I'm on Reddit. I am, but I haven't really done a whole lot with it. I do get on there sometimes and catch up on what's going on in different threads, but I haven't really been doing anything with Reddit myself as far as streaming or anything at the moment. So it's all stuff I'm looking at. Anyway, I digress. I'm really excited to try this wine, so we're going to go ahead and open it. I also have a bottle of water with me tonight, and I have a little bit of that to try first, to clear the palate and prepare for what should be a very interesting experience. I'm going to give you a shot of this wine here. This is I took this earlier. This is what it looks like. Hecula Monastrell 2015. This is a Spanish wine from Spain. And I purchased this for $9.99 at winestore-online.com, our local wine store. We have several locations here, and they do ship to some states at this price. I would say it's a pretty good deal. I've seen it around online. Let me see. I've got a couple places online that have looked at it. That it goes from between $12 and $15 a bottle. I think Vivino. Let's see. Vivino has it for $12.99, and I think Wine.com has been listing it for. They had it listed for $14, and they had to strike out that and are selling it for $12.99. So maybe a little price reduction there. But and I think pretty much all over it's going from about the $12 to $15 mark, and for that price point, we'll see how that works. But for $9.99, I say it's kind of hard to beat if I to try it out. So we'll give it a try. We'll see how it works. I'm going to read a little bit from the back. Let me get a shot of the back of this wine. This, according to this, and it's hard to read, so I'm going to read it for you. It says the Castano family is today one of the most respected wine producers in southeastern Spain. Their roots can be traced many generations back in Hecula, a small wine region in the north of Murcia? I don't know. I'm not from Spain. Good thing this isn't a French wine tonight, because as I butcher the French language, as I'm known to do, this could be really bad. Hecula implies the change from a classical winemaking style to a more modern view. Its fruitiness and brief aging play the essential role in this untreated and unfiltered wine. 100% Monastrell, and this is from, it's imported by, I should say, by European sellers in Charlotte. So this should be a very interesting wine to try out tonight. Looking forward to it. So, without any further yakking from me, let's go ahead and try this wine out. And let's see who else is in the chat with us here before we start. Jack has joined us in the chat. It's great to see you, Jack. I hope you're doing well. Hope the family's doing well. And Jack and Charles, I go way back with both of them. Both of them really good friends of mine. And although I haven't seen either one of them in years, I really would like to catch up with them, both of you guys, at some point. Maybe the next time I go down, get out of North Carolina and head down your way. Okay, let's see. Before we start, I've got my wine uncorker here. And I have my Cooper's Hawk. We're going to pour it into my Cooper's Hawk genuine crystal wine glass from the Cooper's Hawk Winery and Restaurant in Orlando, Florida. And I have my cutter here somewhere. Where is it? Oh, here it is. My wine cutter. My foil cutter, whatever you want to call it. Very informal here. And let's open this up. Didn't seem to open. Didn't seem to cut very well tonight. Okay, there's the foil. And we're going to... Ow, got me there. Let me get a little close-up on this so you can... There we go. You can see this in action. I really love this thing. She picked it up for me, as I mentioned so many times before, for $5 in a estate sale, and I know it's worth more than that. I think this came over from England. I think this was imported because it doesn't seem to be available here. Opened up really nice, very easily, as it usually does with this. And usually easier to open up than to get the cork off of it. All right, let's let it breathe a little bit. And to help it breathe, well, I really poked myself with that thing. To help it breathe, I have my Veneto aerator from the Veneto Wine Lovers set. I've got it upside down here. There we go. Can't see a darn thing tonight. Here we go. There. All right, we're going to pop this in here. Make sure it's in there good and tight. And we're going to give this a nice little pour. And before I do, let's see, anybody else in the chat? Looks like we're good for now. Jack, tell me what you're doing, how you're doing. And let's see. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pour this, just a little bit of it. And we're going to go a good swirl, going to get it. Well, I'm trying not to get the keyboard with it. Oop, almost did. All right. Unfortunately, I've got something to clean that up with. All right. So I'm going to give this a try. I can smell it from here. The aroma is very strong. And wow, it's very, very fragrant. A little bit as I recall from the brief tasting I had about a month or two ago. It does have some legs. Some rivulets are coming down the glass. I don't know if you can see that too well. Not that it really matters too much. I don't know if you can really see that. But there are some legs. And we're going to give it a good whiff. Some of course, some cherry notes. It's a little. I think it's a little flowery. Actually, it's very fruity. It is a very fruity wine. Old blackberry. It is somewhat medium bodied from the look of it. Alcohol content. What's the alcohol content of this wine? 14% by volume in the 750 milliliter bottle. Let's get a little taste. Oh well. Now this does seem to taste a little bit different from the way I remember it in the tasting. It does seem a little bit different from that. It's a little peppery, a little oak, touch of vanilla. There are some tannin. It's rather tannic. There are some tannins in this wine. It's not too strong, but it's not very weak either. It's kind of a, I don't know, kind of a medium. It's somewhat dry, but it's. I have to have some more of this. Let's see. It's a very smooth wine. It does, and it has a good finish. I like the finish on this wine, but it also has a very it has a very, well, once again, it's very fruity. It has a kind of a fruity finish, but the aroma is really nice. It really is. A little touch of vanilla too. Very touch of vanilla. It tastes a little. I should say that the grapes taste a little bit ripe. It is smooth. It's a little more complex than you'd think, and it's about what I expected after the little tasting I had before. But it's you really have to go down to the bottle to really get a feel for what this wine is really like. But so far, I do like it. I do like the wine. I think it actually goes good with probably goes good with some grilled meats, I'd say. I think it needs to. It's just slightly bitter. It's just slightly bitter, but not bad. Not bad. Not bad. It's okay. I like it. It's pretty good. So I would say that this is definitely worth. This is definitely worth 10. I'd say it's probably worth maybe 15. I don't think it's a $30 bottle of wine by any means, but I think this is actually a good wine to sit back and relax with, maybe with some, maybe a little few finger foods, that kind of thing. Might work with some finger foods. Let me try it with a finger food or two. Let's try it with the. We'll try it with the summer sausage. I don't know if it's going to go very well with that. It's a little smoky. I don't know. That's good beef summer sausage, by the way. Notice that I can pick up the glass with either hand. When it comes to wine, I am ambidextrous. Sort of. I don't normally drink with my left hand, but sometimes if I don't know, I just picked it up and used my left hand, and I realized, you know what? I'm drinking with my left hand. I don't think I've ever really done. Have I done that before on the stream? I don't know. Usually, I'm drinking with my right hand. Okay, well, not that it matters, but I just noticed it myself. Let's see what else we have in the chat here. Okay, now I know that she is taking this opportunity to. I don't know if she'll join us later, but I know she's taking this opportunity to relax and have some me time, some me-chi time, as I would say. Me time away from Rick for a couple hours. She's really sweet, but I know that I can be a handful, and I know all of us can be handfuls sometimes. But she handles us very well, and she's just an amazing person. She really is, and she puts up with me, and she puts up with this on Saturday night. So I want to drink to her first. My beautiful wife, she. Also, let's see, birthdays. We're going to cover the birthdays here before we go too far down into the bottle, because I want to start toasting people. Who had a birthday today? Mike Papademos, an old friend who I worked with. I know I did toast him last week. I worked with for many years at WFL, and I would like to toast Mike. I don't know if he's watching it off. He's watching later. But I want to toast you. Here's to you, Mike. And may you have... his birthday, I think, was yesterday, on the 9th. His birthday was yesterday. Little slow week for birthdays. I noticed that. I know another friend of mine, Jeff Glaze, he had a birthday, I think, last week, but or early this week. And so... happy birthday to you again, Jeff, although I did toast you in the last stream. And I looked around for other birthdays, and there don't seem to be many happening this week except for Mike's. So I didn't really see any anniversaries going on this week. So... it's been a little slow week for that. I guess August is, the dog days of summer. It's I guess it's a little slow time for that. But we do have some national days, and some of those are kind of fun. So I want to have something to toast to, so I'm going to toast to some national days, because I have this bottle of wine here, and it's just a shame to waste this bottle of wine on just me drinking it and not having anything to drink, not having any reason to drink it other than just it being here. And I guess that's a reason by itself. And got a bottle of wine, have to drink it. But I'd rather have a compelling reason to drink this wine. So that's why I'm toasting some national days. And what we have here are August 10th today, National Shapewear Day. Okay, let's, I don't know, National Connecticut Day. Anybody here from Connecticut? No? Okay. Okay, I can get to this one. National Lazy Day. National Lazy Day. Here's a National Lazy Day. I'll drink to that. I'll definitely drink to that. As a matter of fact, there's a story here I want to tell you about that happened today. True story. And I had planned. I look forward to all weekend. All week. I look forward to Saturday weekend, because Saturday afternoon I look forward to being able to just lie down and take an Saturday afternoon nap. Now, at my age, I'm 60. At my age, that's something that I really look forward to. It's funny that when I was a kid, and I told this story to, I think, my kids a while back, but when I was a kid, we used to have nap time in the house. There was always nap time. There were 6 of us. Or actually, at the time that I'm talking about, it was earlier in my life, so there were about 3 or 4 of us at the time. And my mom used to have us all have nap time. We had to have an hour or so nap. And I think it was really more to give her a break, my poor mother a break, because she, 4 kids, 6 kids, she needed a break every day. So every day, somewhere around midday, it was nap time. So whether we wanted a nap or not, and we usually didn't. I mean, that was tough. I did not like nap time when I was a little kid. When I was 6 or 7 years old or 8 years old, I did not really want nap time. And we did the same thing at school. When I was in kindergarten, first grade, I don't really have a whole lot of memories of kindergarten other than, a few of them, but one of them was nap time, having to take a short nap. I never understood nap time. I really did not get it at all. And it wasn't until years later that I really understood what nap time was really for. It wasn't really for the kids. It was really for the adults getting a break from the kids. And I learned to appreciate that later on when I had kids, she and I both. But we never really made them take naps during the day. We probably should have, but we didn't. But when I was a kid, we had to have nap time, and I had to lie down to take a nap whether I wanted one or not. And I was, being a little kid, I wanted to get up, run around, play, do things. It was not a big fan of nap time. Well, fast forward, and here I am, 60 years old, and I look forward. I look forward to nap time. I look forward to taking an afternoon nap, getting that Saturday night afternoon nap or that Sunday afternoon nap, and just kicking back and taking a nap, because I need it. When you get to be this age, you start to really, really appreciate nap time. You really do, and I'm pretty sure everybody here is with me on this. Everybody who is around my age. So she's in the chat. She's joined us in the chat, by the way, and she says, "You think?" I'm not sure exactly what she was responding to, but it might be the nap time for the kids. And also, Rob's joined us in the chat. Good to see you. Great to see you, Rob. Join us, and Daniel. Thanks for joining us in the chat. Stick around. We've got a lot of things that I want to talk about. Got a lot of wine to drink, a lot of days to toast, and I look forward to toasting it all right with you. So, did I lose the stream here for a second? I may have. I don't know. Hope not. So, where was I? Where was I going with any of this? I don't remember. So, National Lazy Day. That's what we were toasting, and I'll drink to that, by the way. So, nap time. At my age now, I look forward to it. And if I don't get my Saturday afternoon nap or my Sunday afternoon nap, I'm kind of cranky the rest of the week. I feel deprived for the rest of the week, for the upcoming week. So I'll be working all week, and I'll just be dragging all week if I don't get any nap time. So, those 2 days, because I don't really sleep well at night, so I really look forward to the nap time to be able to catch up on my sleep. So I didn't get my nap time today. and I'll explain why in a few minutes. But I'll have to say that I'm kind of I've been in a cranky mood ever since this afternoon because I did not get my Saturday nap time. Hopefully, I can get a little bit in Sunday, but didn't really get in Saturday. Now, did we lose the scene? Everybody's still watching this? Because I lost it on my end, the feedback on this. So I want to make sure that we are still streaming. It looks like we are, but I don't really see it. I don't really see it coming over. So I'm checking YouTube also. YouTube seems to be working okay. So I know we're still streaming. I know we're still getting out there. And I don't know if... let's see. Yeah, it looks like lost it here on Facebook. Let's see if I can get that back. Anyway, just in case you're seeing it, and it's just me that's not. Ed's joined us in the chat. Ed, great to see you. Hope everyone's doing well. There we go. Oh, we're back. Okay, I see the feedback live here again, so it looks like we are back in the chat. Can everybody still see the chat okay? Or can everybody still see the feed okay? Because I lost it here for a couple of minutes, so I don't know if you guys are really seeing this or not. Hopefully you are. And once again, Ed, it's great to see you in the chat. Hope you're doing well. And we will continue on with the stream. I don't know. Facebook is really funny about the streaming here, so I don't know what's going on with that, to be honest. Anyway, this does get repurposed into a podcast later, so I'm gonna have to do a little editing on this maybe if we did lose the stream. Hopefully not. You can, of course, check the podcast later on at drinkwithrick.com, and we are all over the place. We're on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts and Stitcher Radio and Spotify, all those good places. So you can catch us in any of that. You can listen on demand anytime. So if you missed the stream here or part of the stream here, you can catch it again later if you really want to. You don't have to, but if you want to. Once again, Ed, how are you doing? You doing all right? I hope everything's going well with you. Ed and I used to room together. We used to work together at Walt Disney World back in the day, but we used to room together, and we were good friends. Haven't seen you in ages. I think the last time we met up, I think we got together for lunch one time. That was like years and years ago. That was the last time we were able to reconnect. It's just I don't get out that way too much. I'm pretty sure you're still down in Florida, but I don't get out that way too much these days. But one of these days we have to reconnect. Same with Charles. I really, really need to. Now I know, Charles, you're not in Maitland now, so. And by the way, I want to give Charles another salute. Toast to Charles for his new job, because he recently got a new job, and I know he's excited about it, and I'm excited for you, Charles. I really am. I think that's really, really great. I hope everything's working out for you. So, and Dan, how you doing? And Daniel, I hope you're doing fine. Daniel, we did a lot of work with OnForce, and that's really where the Force Field podcast started. That was really kind of how I got started into podcasting. And Daniel, I hope you're doing well. Hope your family's doing well, and stick around. We're going to do some more drinking with Rick. Tell me what you're drinking. Tell me what you'd like to see me drinking. And once again, we're drinking the Hecula Monastrell 2015. It's very fruity wine. This is a Monastrell, 100% Monastrell. and it still smells, and I'm getting down into the bottle a little bit, and that's where, tasting, it doesn't really do it justice. You go to these wine tastings in the supermarket and that sort of thing, and they'll give you a little taste here, a little taste here, and it all tastes good because you're in a supermarket and it's free wine, right? When was the last time you had free wine and it tasted bad? Okay. I think I made my point there. Yeah, it has to be a really bad wine to be bad if it's free, right? So it's easy to get taken up in the moment when you're tasting free wine at the supermarket, or at, say, a wine tasting somewhere. It's easy to be caught up in the moment with that and say, oh yeah, this is great wine. No, it's all great wine. Things always taste better when they're free, right? You ever go to Sam's Club and you go to the sample aisle, and try the sample, and the samples always taste great, don't they? Oh, okay, I take that back. I've had a couple of samples that I didn't like and that didn't sit well with me later, and I'm not going there right now. But for the most part, when you go to the little booths where they give out the free samples, let's face it, come on, how many of you have gone to, say, Sam's Club or one of these other discount clubs, and on a day like a Saturday or Sunday or weekend or special event where they've had a lot of these sample booths set up, and you go around and you say, you know what, it's time for lunch. I'm just going to go to Sam's, or I'm going to go to BJ's or Costco, wherever it is, and I'm just going to go around and hit all the sample booths and get free samples. Your wife's over there, or the hubby, and depending on the case, and is out shopping, and you're just going to hit all the free samples, and by the time you're done, you've had basically a full meal because you're hitting all the samples, right? Can't be free, can we? Yeah, I mean, they always taste better, right? You have a sample this, you have a sample that. Sometimes you go back for seconds or thirds or fourths or whatever, and the samples always taste great, don't they? And then you think, you know what? I really, really like this. You're caught up in the moment. I really like this sample of this chicken patty, or this fish eyeballs, or whatever it is they're giving out, right? And so you go and buy a pack. And of course, when you're at one of those clubs, you can't just buy a little pack, right? You buy a pack. It's like pallet-sized pack, right? Okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you know what I mean. So, well, I'm not really exaggerating for some items. But when you go there, it's a huge pack, and it's always like 18, 20, 24 bucks because you're buying a huge family-sized pack or an army-sized pack. And then you get at home and you think, well, I'm going to go ahead and have one of these because a sample was great. So you have one of these, and then you realize that, oh man, I bought a whole pack of this stuff and I didn't really care for it that much, right? It's okay. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it turns out to be, oh man, this is not that great at all. What did they put in this sample? And then you realize, I bought a whole pack of this junk. And you're kind of stuck with it, right? Come on now. You've done that. I've done that. We've all done that, right? We get the sample. Oh, yeah, the sample's great. You go out and buy a pack of it in the heat of the moment, go home, and it turns out to be not as great as the sample seemed to be, right? It's psychological because things always taste better. Things always look better when they're free. Right? Come on. Yeah, I'm seriously. Yes, things always taste better than and work better and look better when they're free. Okay? the samples. Okay, the same thing is true, and I was going off on a tangent, but I'm coming back full circle. There's a reason for this. Same thing is true with wine. When you go to a wine tasting, and you're tasting the wine, you're in the heat of the moment, and you're tasting all these different wines, and you're thinking, oh, this is great wine, this is great wine, this is great wine. The next thing you know, you're out there buying all this wine, and then you take it home, and then sometimes you open it later, and then when you get down to the bottle, down halfway into the bottle, you realize, you know what, this wine is not as great as I thought it was. It's maybe a $5 bottle of wine. It's better than $2 Chuck, but it is not a great wine. So this is one of the reasons why I do this. Well, okay, the main reason I do this is because I'm just having fun. But one of the reasons I do this is because I know that if I'm going to really taste the wine, and look, regards to Gary Vaynerchuk, to Gary V, and who I know he is the wine aficionado. Okay, his family's been in the wine business for eons, and he knows his wine. Okay, I'm not disparaging him at all. Okay, I watch the wine library sometimes. I've kept up with him for years, and he's good at what he does. He's really good at tasting wine, much better at it probably than me. He does these blind taste tests of different wines sometimes, and he has them all wrapped up in brown paper bags, and he does these tastings and stuff like that. And he can pick them out, right? He can pick them out. All right, that's fine. That's all good. But you realize now with Gary Vaynerchuk, he's opening up $20, $30, $40, $50 bottle of wines, and he's taking a little taste and spitting it out in a bucket. Taking a taste, spitting out in a bucket. Now, okay, he's a professional. He knows what he's doing, right? Okay, that's fine. And I'm not a professional, and I don't pretend to be a professional. I'm just an everyman who likes to drink wine, okay? But as an everyman who likes to drink wine, I can tell you that I've been to a bunch of wine tastings, and I've done the sips and spitting out in the bucket bits, and well, not so much spitting out buckets because I don't like to do that. I don't like to waste wine, but I've done that, and I can tell you that just because the wine tastes great in the first taste doesn't mean it's going to be just as great when you get down to the bottle, because I've gone out and done this where, as a matter of fact, I went to, I haven't had enough of this yet. Thank you. I have been, let's say, for instance, when I went to Biltmore, we went to Biltmore, and I really do like going to the Biltmore, not so much because of the tour, because, you've been to the Biltmore once, you've taken a tour of the mansion, and, you've seen it, okay. But the reason for going to the Biltmore is really for going for the winery and the wine tastings, because they have a huge wine bar, and you can sit down and you can taste all of the wines, right? They have so many of these. You can go out of there pretty sauced if you've tasted every one of their wines at their wine bar. I know. So the thing is, I've done this too. I've gone to their wine bar and I sat down, and as a matter of fact, my sister-in-law and I sat down and we tasted. Went through all the tastings with a lot of different wines, and then of course after the tastings, you go into the shop. And they have all the wines for sale, and you can order all the wines. You can order them by single bottles or by the case. You can mix and match them and all that good stuff. And of course, I did that because I like wine. So I did this. I go out and get a case of wine where I mix and match a bunch of wines. And then I get them home and open them up. And some of them are good, because I do like some of the Biltmore wines. Don't get me wrong, I do like some of those wines. But I get them home, but there are a couple of wines that I purchased that were a little bit pricier that I tried out. And I thought, this is not the way I remembered them in the tasting. And then I got a little farther down the bottle, and I decided, you know what? I really don't like this wine that much. I think there was only like one wine that really fit that bill, but it was one that I went down to the bottle and I thought, you know what, this was not what worth what I paid for it, in my opinion. I didn't really care for it too much. Now maybe it was just that bottle, but maybe it was just that wine. Maybe it didn't really. It wasn't really what I aspired it to be during the tasting, and I felt like, you know what, I should have bought a second bottle of this other wine with what I paid, or a couple of two more bottles of that other one that I liked for what I paid for this one that I didn't like, and it was and one of the bottles was a little bit pricier. So the moral of that story is, don't necessarily be fooled by the tastings. I mean, the tastings are great, and they give you some idea, but just because you take a little sip of wine and the first sips taste good doesn't necessarily mean you're going to like that bottle when you get down into it, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to find it to be a good value for you, because everyone's taste in wine is different, and you may not necessarily like it. Now, I went off on a little bit of a tangent there, but I did it because I was initially trying to make a point about the about freebies and free tastings in wine. Coming back full circle, I had this wine tasting for this Hecula wine, and when I first tasted it, I was really, really impressed because it tasted very, very different from what I was used to tasting in a wine. And I thought, okay, I've got to have this bottle of wine and open it up on the wine stream and test it. But now that I've gotten, and I'm almost, I'm a little over a third of the way down the bottle. I'm almost halfway down the bottle, actually. Okay, let's make it even, okay? All right, let's still not quite halfway down, but we're farther down the bottle. Getting down into the bottle now, I realized, yes, I like this wine. I really do. Don't get me wrong. I like this wine. If I didn't, I wouldn't keep drinking it. I would have set it aside, opened up something else, and continued the stream with a different bottle of wine. Okay, so it's not that bad. Okay, it's not bad at all. I like this wine, and for $10 a bottle, I would say this is pretty decent wine. If this wine was $25 or $30 a bottle of wine, for a bottle of this wine, I would say probably not. I would not pay $30 for this bottle of wine. Now, considering that the median price, as I priced it on online already, has been about $12 to $15, and right now $12, because I think some of them have done strike-throughs on their prices, or at least one of them have. What was it? I think it was wine.com that did that. It was one of them, wine.com, did a strike-through. Yeah, they had it at $14, and now it's at $12.99. So, considering that, I think $12.99, I think it's probably still okay. I would buy another bottle of this wine for $10. I would, absolutely. If it was $18 to $20 a bottle, no. Okay, so that's pretty much my review on this wine. I like the wine. It's a good wine, and it's tasting a little more fragrant. In fact, the smell, the fragrance is a little more reminiscent of. At this point, a little more reminiscent of the, what was the other wine that I tried? It was, I would like to say it was the, I don't remember. It was one of those. It's starting to kick in. Okay. Um, for those who wanted to tune in just to see me drink this bottle of wine and uh, get hammered, you may just luck out tonight. It's starting to kick in a little bit. But where was I going with this? Oh, yes, I did in a previous wine stream. I did tell you the story of the time that I set up shop in a flea market on the weekends, and I was across from someone who sold incense. And it gave me such a headache that I would go home, and I cannot stand, to this day, I cannot stand the smell of incense anymore. Now, she and I used to have incense burners, and we used to burn a little incense, and we used to buy a little incense back in the day for fun, just to spice things up in the house a little bit, and make it a little, smell a little spicier, whatever, incensier. But I could not. Since then, I could not stand the smell of burning incense. It just gives me a huge headache. Well, this wine, slight smell of incense. I don't know why. I think it's just the fragrance, that it's the perfumey kind of fragrance of it. It's not bad. It tastes fine. It's just. And if it didn't taste fine, I wouldn't be continuing to drink it. But a slight incense type of smell is reminiscent of my days with that booth at the flea market. So that is a little bit of a turnoff for me. But he said as he poured another glass. And before I do any more, I'm going to have a little bit of water to cut that with. So that clears the palate somewhat. A little better than the crackers do, as a matter of fact, which I have not had any of so far, and I might have some later. Anyway, the Hecula wine, I do like a Monastrell. It's those can be a little bit. I think they can be a little bit bitter. This is not bad. It's a little astringent. There are tannins. It's like I said. It's kind of a medium tannic wine. It's not too bad. It's not too strong. If you don't like a lot of tannins in the wine, then this is okay. If you like more tannins, you might want to go with something maybe a little more tannic than this. It might not be enough for you. A good tannic wine. The thing is about tannins is that you want to kind of, if they're good. A lot of tannins are good if you have other elements of the wine that kind of balance it all out. And I can't say that this wine is really, really well balanced. I think it's tasted something else there. It's kind of a complex wine. I don't think this wine is really well balanced. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think this would be an okay wine for some grilled meats and some party favor type of, like, not party favors. What am I saying? Little hors d'oeuvres and things like that. It's probably okay. I think it's okay on its own if that's what you like. If you like a Monastrell, if that's not what you like, you might want to go with something else, like for just to drink alone, like maybe say the Tandem or the Domaine de Jeunesse or something like that. That might be a little bit better for you. But it's not bad. Okay, well I'm getting on into this, but I did want to talk about something else that really kind of bugged me today, and this is why I didn't get my nap today. And we already went over how much I value my afternoon nap. Well, I didn't get my nap today because of something else that happened that shouldn't have happened, really, in my opinion. Um, I've owned several homes in my lifetime, and of course, this is the longest time we've ever lived in a home, in a house. When we moved here to North Carolina from Florida, and we've been here for 12 years now. It's the longest time we've ever been in one place as a family. The longest time I've ever been in one place, that's for sure, because my family moved a few times when I was younger, but my parents and my siblings and myself. But since I've been married and started my own family, we've lived in a few places. But I'm the kind of person where I kind of like to take up roots, and I like to have a home and kind of stay there and have roots for my family and for posterity, so my kids can grow up and feel like they have a stable home environment, and then when they get married and move on, that they can and have kids, that they too can know that there's someplace they can all come back to as a stable home environment. So when we moved up here to North Carolina and I purchased this house, we bought this home, that was the thing that was on the primary thing on my mind was, okay, this is going to be our last home that we own. This is going to be the home that we own, that we're going to put roots in and that we're going to live in and we're going to stay. This is going to be our home. And for years, the home we retire in, the home that our kids can come back to and bring their kids to, and our great grandkids to, whatever. This is going to be our home for posterity. That was the idea, anyway. The problem, though, is that looking back, every home that I purchased has had an HOA, a homeowners association, because we've lived in a suburban neighborhood. Every home, okay, we're part of suburbia, and that's where we feel comfortable. We feel comfortable living in a suburban area. I don't like to live in town. I despise inner city living. It's just not for me. I like to have a little bit of space. I like to be able to have some space between me and the armpit of my neighbor next door. Okay, it's just the way it is. I want to have a little bit of space, and you can't get that when you're living in a city, in an inner city. I don't. But on the other hand, I don't want to live out so far out in the country, out in the boonies, that you can't. If something happens, if there's an emergency or something, you can't get there. You have to take a four-wheeler to get to your house, or your little two-lane road that gets washed out in a summer in a summer rain or something like that. I don't want to live out somewhere where in the middle of nowhere where there's no civilization. You know what I mean? So the halfway point, the medium, the happy medium, as they would say, would be suburbia, right? So that's the way I've felt more comfortable with suburbia. That I've always lived in a suburban home. That's how I grew up. That's so. From birth, it's been okay. I take that back. From at birth, I was living on the beach, beach house, and that was a little bit. There was some space there. But from my early childhood on, it was suburbia. That's what I was used to. I was used to being able to live in a neighborhood where I could walk to a corner store, but it wasn't like I was in the middle of a bustling city, had some space to breathe. I could get on a bike and ride a bike around, and I had some freedom to do that. And if you were driving around, you could drive and park somewhere and not have to worry about parking fees and parking meters and things like that. It just because you had some space. So I don't know, this doesn't seem to be making any sense at the moment. It will in a minute. So when we moved up to North Carolina, we had options. We were hunting around for homes, and we were thinking, well, do we want a home that's kind of more out in the country? Do we want a home that's out in suburbia? Or do we want to live uptown, what they call uptown Charlotte, what the elites call uptown Charlotte? And I didn't want to live uptown. I don't like to live in town. I don't like driving in town. I don't like going into the city area if I can help it, for a lot of different reasons. But so we that's what we did. We looked around for a suburban home, someplace that we felt comfortable in, something that we didn't feel too closed in, that we felt was maybe on the outskirts of town. On the outskirts of town, we felt like, okay, a little secluded, so that we had some privacy, a little bit of land, so we felt like we owned a piece of property and we could do things with. And, it wasn't like a little tiny backyard area, fenced-in backyard area where there was just enough room to walk around and not anything else. And we wanted to live somewhere where there was a little bit of space, not too much distance between here and the local supermarket or the school or anything like that, where we had to drive 10 miles to get anywhere, but not too closed in that we felt that we couldn't breathe. So we hunted around and we found what we thought was the perfect place, the perfect neighborhood, somewhat secluded. It wasn't, at the time, it was not congested. It was kind of a little bit off the beaten path, but it was right next to all the amenities. So you had all the amenities in town, the supermarkets and the big stores and stuff, but yet it was just kind of not too close to everything else, to where you had it just wasn't. It wasn't too congested. There wasn't too much traffic. It was a comfortable place to be. Perfect. So we're here in Charlotte, South Charlotte, and the first couple of years was fine. It was just great. Nothing going on. It was still, the school, the local elementary school was just down the street. Our jobs, well, my job was really far away, but Chi's job was not too far away. It was commutable, and it was really nice, really nice. Well, over the years, and we've been here for 12 years, over the last decade, there's been so much construction, so much. Charlotte has just been growing so rapidly and expanding so much that it's just spilled out, and a lot of people are moving here for a number of different reasons, but it's become congested. So to the point where we're looking around, we're still in our little spot, but it's not so secluded anymore. Now we have a stoplight at the corner. We have traffic going back and forth. Now, when we first moved here, one of the reasons that we chose this house, one of the reasons I wanted this house, was because it had space in here for me to build a podcast, an audio booth, and a podcast studio. And the traffic wouldn't be, and we were, the airport was not too far away, but they didn't really, at the time, they didn't really have lanes They're going to where it was creating that much airport traffic, and the neighbors were quiet, and it was just a nice, quiet neighborhood. It was a great space for me to podcast. At the time, I was doing the force field, and I had plans to do other things. So I put together my little studio, and it was just perfect. It was just perfect spot. And then over time, over a short period of time, over 12 years, everything changed. There was, I think they added another runway over there at Charlotte Douglas Airport, so that now the planes are like going right overhead all the time, and they added a stoplight over here at the corner, and they expanded some other things here with the road that now we have all this traffic coming through. And then they did some things on the other side where they built up all of these office complexes and hotels and apartment buildings, and they're still building things over there. There's an apartment building going up right now on the other side of the school that my kids went to. It's not finished yet, but when it gets up, it's going to be just massive congestion. So this little road that goes back and forth now is so busy. It's just so congested, and there's so much noise from the traffic and the planes and everything else that about the only time I can do any podcasting is late at night. And even then, sometimes you can hear some hot rodders going by and making a lot of noise. Sometimes, and of course, things have changed in our neighborhood. At the time that we moved here, there were just all little kids and some retired folks and things like that, and it was all cool, and it was very, very quiet. Now we have neighbors they're shooting off fireworks every chance they get. The kids are all over the place and in the street. And like I said, I love kids. I like the neighborhood. I love my neighbors, but it's just become way too noisy. So now we're thinking, well, wow, we're kind of pushed out of here. I mean, it's like, what are we going to do? We're going to have to. Are we going to have to move somewhere else now because we need we need a little bit of space. We don't have it anymore. It's just grown out into us. We tried to think of moving here in terms of future, what our future would be like, but we didn't really figure on this. So that's something we have to consider. So we've been considering the last few years. Well, we've got something else going on. Of course, I'm not drinking enough wine, so let's have a little bit more of that. I haven't even gotten to the rant yet. This is going to be fun. This is going to be very interesting. So, anyway, we have an HOA in our neighborhood. And in the beginning, when we moved in, it was a quiet, lazy little neighborhood, nothing much going on. The HOA, the people running the HOA, it was run by the homeowners. It was controlled by the homeowners. And we were homeowners. We were part of it. We had a vote like everyone else. Now, I'm not a big fan of HOAs. I've belonged to HOAs before. In fact, I was part of the board of HOA, the first house the condo that we lived in Florida, the first house I ever owned. I joined the HOA, and I had to. I didn't have a choice, but I got involved. I got actively involved in the HOA, and I got along with all my neighbors. It was great. I became the newsletter editor for the HOA there. Okay, that's how involved I was. And sat on the board meetings every board meeting. So I was very, very involved in our HOA. And then the next house we bought, I wasn't quite as involved, and there wasn't much to be involved in because it was really just collect the money, and there really wasn't much to that HOA. When we moved here, they had an HOA, but it was sort of like in the very beginning, it was sort of like the first HOA I belonged to, where the homeowners were the officers and the board, and they ran everything, and we were all self-governed. Okay, not a big deal. Then there was a chart. We had rules, of course, as every HOA does. Not a big deal. So over the years, though, as things have grown and people have moved around and moved on and moved in and whatever, the participation in the HOA diminished quite a bit, to the point where it was realized that, you know what, we don't get enough participation in the HOA. We're going to have to hire. Yeah, I know you know where I'm going with this, right? We're going to have to hire a management company to oversee this, to take care of it for us, because we just don't have the resources anymore. We don't have enough people interested in getting involved in the HOA anymore to get into this. Now, I was busy. I had young kids. My wife was working full time. I was having to commute an hour away to go to work. I didn't have time for HOA stuff. I really didn't, and I wasn't really inclined to do that. So we were just too busy. It was just too busy. But we weren't the only ones. I mean, a lot of young families and in the neighborhood that were moving in, a lot of the older folks moving out, and that sort of thing. And they didn't have time. They were busy. A lot of millennials moving in and doing their thing, and nobody had time to manage an HOA, right? Okay, well, that's an old story. It's been told many times before. This is just another example, typical example of a neighborhood in flux. So, as a natural progression of things, it got to the point where the board decided, well, we don't get enough participation in this, and we need to have some management here. We need to be able to do this. So let's hire a management company to manage this HOA for us. Okay, well, that's where things went really, really south, because once you do that, once you hire an outside third-party management company to manage your homeowner association for you, it's a different ballgame. Because first of all, in a typical homeowner association, the people there have a vested interest in it, a real vested interest, because they're all homeowners. They all have some skin in the game, so to speak. So they're all generally a lot more, and it's not the case in every HOA, but my personal experiences in HOAs in the past, when you're all homeowners and you own, that's your HOA, you have some skin in the game, so you're a little bit more sensitive to and considerate of your neighbors when making decisions on things related to the association and to the neighborhood in general, right? That's a general assumption, but that's usually what happens, because you're dealing with your peers here, and everyone has a vote and everyone has a say. The thing is, once you turn it over to a third party to manage that for you, it all changes, because that third party has no skin in the game. They're being hired by you. You're paying them to manage all of that HOA stuff for you. They don't live in the neighborhood. They don't have anything to do with the neighborhood. They're just handling the paperwork. They're just handling the day-to-day activities and that sort of thing with dealing with a homeowner association. So it becomes really just more of an automated, cold, business-like kind of atmosphere, right? In a good deal of the time. I have not seen any of these third-party management companies that have handled it any differently. That's just how it is, because they don't have any vested interest in the neighborhood itself, other than they're being paid by the homeowner association to manage the neighborhood for them. This is where my beef gets into my beef. So, and I probably need to drink something to help me along, because this is really gonna irk me. I lose sleep over stuff very easily, and this is one of those things I'm losing sleep over. I like where we are. I love our location. I like our house. And she and I have fought over 12 years very, very hard to maintain and keep our house and to do what we can to keep it up. And we haven't always been in the best position to be able to do that, to be able to afford to do that. But we do what we can. And we're at the point now where we're seriously thinking about leaving this neighborhood. We really are. Which is a tough call because it's not so much that we have roots here, we have friends here, and we do, but it's because, look, I've got a set here, I've got this set going on, I've got all this podcasting stuff going on that we've built up, that we spent a lot of time working on. And I need some more of this. And before I go any further, let's see who else is in the chat. Let me see who else is on YouTube. As I figure, we've got people watching us on YouTube, but nobody really in the chat. But speak up, and I'm watching. Anybody on Twitter? Twitter looks pretty quiet, so we're good. And things are kind of quiet in the chat. Tell me what's going on in the chat. Tell me what you think about this. Any of you have an HOA? Any of you familiar with what we're going through or have gone what we're going through before? Let me know. Tell me what your thoughts are on this. Tell me if I'm all wet, or tell me if you agree, disagree, indifferent to it. Anyway, so back to this story. So this particular management company, I'm not going to name them, but this particular management company, as much as I'd like to, I'm not going to, has been a little, I can't say I trust, I'll tell you freely, I don't trust them because I think they've overcharged us for a lot of things, and I've already said so before. I think they've come to rip us off on a couple of things, particularly the website. And I've told our board that before, or a member of our board that before. Anyway, so what I was getting to is that we've had some issues with the house. We've had some issues with the property. And we've been working to get those issues resolved. Now, one of the big things has been my yard. My yard is a completely different story. I'm not going to go into all the details there because some of that's funny, some of it's tragic, some of it's just it's ridiculous. But when we lived in Florida, I took really good care of our yard, and it was something that I was very, very somewhat meticulous about, particularly when we lived in Oviedo. I was rather meticulous about the yard. I took great pride in the yard. We had some issues in that yard sometimes, but when those issues arised, I would go take care of them, and I would keep that yard up, and we had a great looking lawn. I took really good care of that lawn, and as my wife, she would attest to, I worked very hard on that lawn and invested a lot into it. And it wasn't that big, but it was our yard, it was our lawn, and I was quite proud of it. We had one of the better looking yards or the lawns in the neighborhood at the time. And that was one of the things that was difficult for me when we left that house. It was difficult for me to leave. And we went back and visited that house sometime later, and I was just heartbroken when I saw the state of the house and the state of the yard, because it was just, I worked really hard on it and put a lot of time and effort into it, and to see it go downhill like that, to see it go into disrepair as it did, it was just kind of heartbreaking. And it really was. So we moved here, and the yard's great for a couple of years, And then we had an issue. We had an issue with when in the front yard, and we were not really aware of. I'm not going to go into it now, but just in a nutshell, I'll go into it later on because some of it's just weird. But in a nutshell, there were some things going on that we were really not aware of with the yard. We finally found out it was a bit late in the game, so we got that fixed. But a lot of the damage had already been done in the yard. So at that point, we had a really, really difficult time, and we still have a difficult time bringing the yard up to where it's supposed to be, where it was originally when we first moved in. And we lost a tree. We lost a beautiful sugar maple tree that I really, really loved over this. We had to cut down quite a bit of shrubbery plants and some other things over some of it over this. It was we had to make some adjustments, and in the course of doing that, our front yard just went south. And last year, we made quite a few efforts to try to bring it back, but it would not really come back. And last year, I spent a good part of the spring, and we spent a considerable amount of money trying to redo the yard ourselves. I had to go through and completely reseed the yard and fix it back up, and it looked great for a few weeks, and then everything just died and was overtaken by weeds and stuff. It was just a nightmare. So I was just really frustrated. I'd pretty much just about given up on going out there and doing anything in the yard. Much to cheese for Grim, because you're saying go out there and do something. I'd like look out the yard and I'm like, what's the point? What's the use anymore? I just felt like I was wasting effort going out there trying to do anything in the yard. So this year we got somewhat of it was pretty barren for a good part of the spring, and then the grass all kind of came back and it looked green. Unfortunately, it was all crabgrass. It was all crabgrass, and but at least it was green. But we'd have to mow it, of course, every week. So, which is what we did. Well, here's where it gets interesting. I go out. I mowed it. Last mowed it about 10 days ago, and it was okay. I mean, it was crabgrass, but it was green and it was okay. It looked like some semblance of a yard, and we trimmed it down. Everything, it was fine, more or less, as fine as it could be. So we got hit with some rain, some daily rains, about the same time every day. So you couldn't go out there and mow the yard during the last few days, last week or so. And of course, when it rains, the grass grows that much faster, right? So last week I look out and I say, "Oh, it's time to mow it again," but we couldn't really mow it. Tommy was working all those days, and it was like 100 degrees. It was pretty close to 100 degrees out every day, and we couldn't, for health reasons, I couldn't really go out there and do it. She was not going to let Tommy do it, go out in the middle of the sweltering heat to mow it. And during the week, I work, I commute in Rock Hill, so that's in South Carolina. So I have this long commute back and forth, which just wears me out on its own. I love my job. It's great. But when I get to work, I'm pretty tired when I get to work. When I get home, I'm exhausted just because of the commute, okay? So when I get home, the last thing I want to do is get home and go out and mow the lawn because I'm just too tired to do it. I got to decompress a little bit. Just from the drive in the heat, the summertime. But I knew I was going to have to do it. Then the thing is, though, the last week, it rained almost every day. About the time I got home or about the time I was on my way home, it had rained, so I couldn't go out and mow my yard. So the grass is getting taller and taller, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, about Wednesday, I think it was about Wednesday, it stopped raining every day. So I was saying, okay, well, I'll go home and I'll mow the yard. Well, by that time, she had contacted a landscaper that we use sometimes for the backyard, for the back garden, or what we call a garden. And she contracted him to do something else. And she said, well, can you mow the yard while you're at it? So he said, yeah, sure, I can mow the yard when I come out there. The only thing is he couldn't come out here until Saturday. That was as soon as he could do it. Well, I was going to go ahead and mow the yard that day because it was the first day that we didn't have any rain, and I can go out and mow the yard. And Tommy could help me out with that. But she says, no, he already, the guy already said that he was going to come out here and mow the yard. And I said, well, when's he coming out here? Well, he can't really do it till the weekend. I said, well, I really need to mow it now. But if he's going to come out here and he's going to mow the yard, then I guess we'll wait till the weekend for him to come out here. I guess that'd be fine, right? And it should be. I mean, this is my house. This is my yard. This is my lawn. I should be able to make that call. If it's Wednesday and we're 3 days away from being able to get the yard mowed, I should be able to make the call, right? So I made the decision. I said, okay, I won't mow the yard on Wednesday. I won't do it because on Saturday the guy's going to come over to mow the yard. It's my house, right? I have the right. I have the inherent right I'm paying a mortgage. I'm paying the ridiculously high taxes that are actually even higher now because Charlotte had decided they were going to. I'm not even going to go there right now. We got to get out of this town, apparently. But so I said, okay, we'll wait till Saturday, and he'll come and mow the lawn. Well, okay, so it's Saturday, right? It's today, Saturday. Or it was today. It was yesterday now because it's 12:30 now, and I'm going overtime on this. So it's Saturday, and he comes over and mows the yard, right? And everything's good. I mean, he's a nice guy. He knows his stuff. He's a young guy, but he seems to really know his stuff. So he's mowing the yard, and he's killing some weeds. He's doing some weeding and stuff like that. And she goes out to help doing some weeding in her rose, because she has a little rose garden going on in the front. So she's doing some weeding while he's mowing the yard and killing some weeds in the back and that kind of stuff. So he's done mowing the yard. And so he's going to put some weed killer on some of the other areas. So we're outside and we're talking about it. He and I are discussing this and talking about the whole yard situation and what we can do to maybe contract him to permanently fix the yard. Because right now the yard's pretty much all crab. I mean, he's out there mowing crabgrass, basically, is what it is. So we're talking about it, and while we're talking, the mailman is driving around. I'm sorry. I knew when I started this, I said I'm not going to say mailman, so a mail person, because it was actually a mail lady. Okay, I've got to be I've got to be politically correct here, so I've got to say a mail person. Okay, it's a mail person. So the mail person comes around in the truck, the mail truck. Let's just say the mail truck comes around, and the mail gets dropped off in our box. So we finish our discussion, and he goes to weeding or spraying the weeds. So I go down there to get the mail, and I pulled out the mail out of the mailbox, and the very first letter on top, the very first letter was from the management company for our HOA, the management company that we hired to manage us for our HOA. Okay, and I open this letter up. I'm standing here. He's out there mowing the weeds, and she's out there pulling weeds and stuff. And I'm reading this letter, And it says, and I've got this letter right here. I'm going to read it. I really should name these people. I'm livid with this. So it says it's titled Compliance Letter. And it says, Dear owner, as a member of the homeowner association, the investment you made in purchasing your property in the community is important. The maintenance of your property and adherence to the community rules are important factors in maintaining and raising property values. Yeah, I got it right. As such, it has been brought to our attention that your property may be in violation of the community's governing documents which regulate the operation of the association. The issues of concern is described as the following, and then it goes into exterior maintenance, and it reads the Article 2 of our association, talking about how the owner is required to perform exterior maintenance, which includes care for the roofs, gutters, yada, 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 building surfaces, trees, shrubs, grass, or other ground cover, including fertilizing and cutting thereof, and maintaining walks, driveways, and other exterior maintenances. In other words, what they're telling me is they're basically regurgitating what we already know the rules are and what we know what our responsibilities as homeowners are. It's my own freaking house. I know what my responsibilities are. Talk about condescending. Okay, so in big bold letters it says, your lawn needs to be mowed and weeds need to be removed from all planting beds. Please do so within 5 days. Really? We respectfully ask that you please take action to resolve the above referenced issue within the time frame specified above. I looked at this letter 5 seconds, and all I'm seeing is red. It was pretty hot outside anyway, but this letter just made me hotter. And so I walk over to Chi, and she's pulling weeds. She stops, and I hand her I don't say a word. I just hand her the letter, and she takes one look at it, and she's just livid. So I go inside, and I had to cool off a little bit. And so I had to write a response. I wrote a response to these people, these individuals at this thing. Now, realize this is my house, and I had 10 days where I had to mow this, where I knew that I had to mow this lawn, and I had to do it on my schedule as soon as I was able to do it. And we did. And this guy's already mowed a lawn, and we get this. Oh, by the way, this letter was dated August 9th. Today was, or what was today, was August 10th. The day that we were doing it was August 10th. The day after they wrote this letter, we were out cutting our yard, and we mowed the lawn, and as soon as the lawn was already mowed, and we get this stupid letter. That just burned me up. It really did, for a number of reasons. I'm going to read to you my response because I'm going to say if you're in an HOA, and this is one of the reasons why I don't like HOAs much, but if you're in an HOA and you're fortunate enough that the HOA controls its own community, then you're probably okay. Unless you're in one of those, you're unfortunate enough to be in some of those HOAs where they're all run by old retired people that don't have anything better to do than to walk around and tell everybody else how to manage their property. Then I feel sorry for you. My friend Pat lived in one of those communities once. And she used to tell me horror stories about how she lived in a condo, and she used to tell me stories about how they would walk around what they call them, neighborhood Nazis, right? They would walk around, these old folks that had nothing better to do with their day than to walk around and make all of their neighbors miserable. She said that there was one guy who would walk around and go into the yards with a measuring stick, and he'd measure the blades of grass. And if they were a little bit higher than what their regulation was, they'd get sent a compliance letter, warning, maybe a lien, if they didn't comply. A lien on their house for having blades of grass that were a little bit higher than they were supposed to be. I know there's some that are that extreme, and those are run by people who have nothing better to do with their lives than to go around and make everyone else in their neighborhood feel miserable. I get that, Fortunately, I never was in one of those, but if you are unfortunate enough to have an HOA where the HOA, the people running it, are, for one reason or another, have turned over the management of that HOA to a third-party management company, well, that's I would say that in my experience that doesn't end well. It really doesn't. Not for the homeowner. So this was my response to them, because I was pretty ticked. Where's my response? I got it somewhere here. Put it up here in one of these. Where is it? Okay, here it is. And I wrote a response to him, and I said, to whom it may concern, I received a compliance letter from your company. I want to be completely honest. I am fed up with your management company and your cold, threatening micromanagement of my property. I told him where I live. I live in this neighborhood and am unfortunate enough to be stuck with the HOA. I'm not a fan of HOAs to begin with, but I like the location of our home, so however unfair to our freedoms as homeowners, we must contend with the forced membership if we want to live in this area. We've struggled with our lawn for years, and during this time we have poured thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours into trying to bring it back to where it was when we purchased it, but to no avail. This is true. We currently have an issue with crabgrass and other invasive plants and are trying to figure out how to resolve it without too much cost, because we have other repairs and maintenance that take priority, and we don't have unlimited funds to pour into all of it at once. You might have unlimited funds and resources, but we do not. So we have to pick and choose what we can do and do it a little at a time. Can you and your company understand that concept? Based on our experience, apparently not. Now, I work full-time, and so does my wife. My son works nearly full-time and goes to school, and with the summer heat and unpredictable weather, we can't just get up and mow when you decide it needs to be done. Due to scheduling, weather, and other issues, it was about 10 days since we last mowed the yard. Considering the circumstances, that's actually not an unreasonably long time. We've been trying to work in a mowing time for the yard this past week and finally had to call someone to do it for us. Unfortunately, due to his schedule, he couldn't get here to do it until today, Saturday, August 10th, 2019. He did arrive, and he did mow the lawn and treat the yard for weeds. But while we were discussing the yard treatment, the mail person drove up and delivered my mail. And what should show up in the mail while we're doing the yard? Your stupid compliance letter telling me that your lawn needs to be mowed and weeds need to be removed from all planting beds. Please do so within 5 days. Really? We're doing our lawn on the one day we can do it, and while we're doing it, we get a letter ordering us to do it with a picture of our lawn. Now, that's the thing. They sent us a picture of our lawn. That isn't just insulting, that's demeaning. Do you think we're such idiots that we don't know what our lawn situation is and that we need to mow our lawn? You don't need to send a picture either. We live here. We know what it looks like. Also, the letter that was dated August 9th, 2019, that was yesterday. You simply couldn't wait another day or so to jump all over a hapless homeowner with a heavy-handed order, could you? Gives you a satisfying sense of real power over the people, doesn't it? This is our home. We live here, and we see the yard every day, so I think we already know when it is time to mow and weed it. We don't need some cold, callous, intrusive, insensitive, hard-nosed, third-party management company with no ownership entitlement at all to tell us when to mow it or how. We're not stupid. We just can't jump up and shove more time and money into the dirt or on our house right when you think it should be done. This is our property, not yours. I'm not paying a hefty mortgage every month on an overly taxed property so some intrusive company that didn't pay a dime into it can tell me what to do with it or how to do it as if you owned it. You want to own it? You buy it. I'll sell it to you. It's time to get out of here. Then you can make all the demands you want. In the meantime, don't insult me with stupid letters like the one I just received, telling me to mow my yard and while I'm already having it done. Do you know what really frustrates me? I can't even contact anyone in person at this management company to address any of this. The office of visitation is by appointment only, and every call is screened by voicemail and answered on their time. And the only real contact is the one email address that I sent this letter to, and who knows if it'll ever be read or sent to a junk folder. I don't know. So, we have to contact them so they can forward communications to the HOA in their sweet time. And it leaves us hoping someone will respond indirectly. So I feel as if our own board of directors is unapproachable, and I actually, the only time that I can seem to actually talk to anyone in my own HOA is if I'm fortunate enough to be available to go to the annual meeting. So this letter and this whole property management thing is just nonsense. I'm a member of the homeowners association, and I should be able to discuss queries and issues with my HOA directly without having to submit some sort of a pass-through process or go through some sort of filter to talk with them. So, and I told him, I said, instead of a threatening letter, why don't you call first and ask what's going on with the yard? Perhaps you learned something about the situation that would give you pause to consider and allow for it. That would be a lot more considerate and neighborly than a threat. And, at the very least, it would be empathetic. So, if I was running the HOA, I would have this company fired. But unfortunately, as a member, I would probably be outvoted because as a member, unless it's by consortium, we seem to have little or no control over the management of our own properties. We just pay for them, and that's how I feel. I mean, I feel like we own this property in name only. I pay this hefty mortgage for a property, and yet I feel like I can't, that I don't really own it. That I feel like I'm just paying the bills. I'm just paying some bank for living here, and I really don't have any control over my own property. I feel like I'm I feel like then I'm only an owner as far as the liability is concerned. For whatever I'm liable for. That's as far as I own this home. It's just as far as liability is concerned, and as far as the expense, the mortgage payment is concerned. Other than that, I really have very little control over my own house. And this is why I don't like HOAs, and this is why I think it's time for Chi and me to consider moving somewhere to another house, where buying another property, selling this and buying another property that doesn't involve an HOA. So that may be the only thing we have to worry about is eminent domain. you know, well, you still have that to worry about. Eminent domain. They can take your house anytime, even if you've been in your family for generations. I'm sorry, I digress. It's just I'm really hot under the collar about this whole thing. I felt that it was very, very cold and callous for them to do this, to send me a notification to mow my yard, to mow my yard, at the threat. I don't know what the threat would be. Were they going to put a lien on my house? I don't know. But it just seems so ridiculous. So if you are a homeowner and you belong to an HOA, it's something you want to consider. It's something to think about. Do you really own your home? Do you really own it? Or are you just a homeowner in name only, in the sense that you are liable for everything that happens to your home, but you have no real control or power or say into what you can and can't do with your house? We have to send in, if I wanted to put in an addition to my home, I have to I have to get approval from the HOA. This even goes down as far as our landscaping is concerned. If she wanted to replace the flowers with something else, bushes, she has to put in something to the HOA to say whether she can do that or not. That's not home ownership. That's not home ownership. Home ownership is when you own a property and you can say, you know what, if I want to, if I want to plant this tree in the middle over here on my property, I can do that, and I don't have to ask anybody's permission first to do it. If I want to have a chicken coop in my backyard with chickens on my property, I should be able to buy a few chickens and put a chicken coop there if I want to. That's home ownership. If I want to expand my driveway and make it a little bit wider, or maybe do some work, maybe pave it a little different, or if I want to paint my house, a different color, I shouldn't have to contact somebody and ask their permission if I can paint it a different color. That's true home ownership. That you can get out there one day and say, you know what, I think I want to paint this house green. Yeah, I want to paint this house chartreuse. Magenta. It might look hideous, but hey, it's my house and I can paint it whatever color I want just because I can. Well, unfortunately, when you live in an HOA, an area where you have in a deed restricted community like that, you don't have that kind of you really don't have that kind of ownership. You don't have that kind of say. So I know I went on with this rant, and that's my rant for the night, and I probably shouldn't have done it with this Hecula wine because this is really good wine. This wine is too good to be drinking while ranting. And if anybody's still watching and they haven't all run away scared by now, thinking, oh, he's gone off his rocker, it's just because I think I'm pretty fed up with HOAs. I'm pretty fed up with being told what I can and can't do with a house. When I spend that much money every month, I'm trying to pay off this house. I want to eventually be able to own the house outright and not have any kind of note held by the bank. I want to be able to pay off the mortgage and own this thing right out, and say, I own this house. I'm debt free. It's my home, and I can do whatever I want with it. If I want to put a ham radio antenna on my house, I should be able to do it. Provided it's not too tall and it's going to cause harmful interference to anybody. I know the rules. I know that I'm a licensed ham operator. I know the rules. But as long as I adhere to the rules, to prevent harmful interference to my neighbors, as long as it's not an eyesore to anybody, I should be able to put up a little antenna. You can't do that in a deed-restricted community. They tried to do that. There was actually legislation in Congress some time back, and this is not a political show by any means, but I want to mention that because I was all for this. There was some legislation passing through Congress some time back, about a year or two ago, that would allow ham radio operators to be able to put non-intrusive antennas in their own homes or on their own properties, because it could be very, very useful to a local community like mine, in case of an emergency or a disaster or something like that, where the only means of communication would be ham radio. But it was shot down, and it was shot down by ironically by this congressman from Florida, Nelson, who and it was his vote that killed it. And because of that, we cannot, ham radio operators like myself and like my son, cannot put up little antennas, ham radio antennas, in our HOA, because we're in a deed-restricted community. We're not allowed to do that. So what would happen if, say, for instance, this little deed-restricted community in which I live was hit with a hurricane or a tornado or some other disaster, and it took out everything, and the only means of getting out to the outside world to first responders was, say, our ham radios in our home. And because we would not be allowed to have an antenna to put up to get the word out, to be able to reach anyone with our amateur radios, we couldn't get anybody out to our neighborhood to rescue anyone. And you think this is not a stretch at all. This happens. It really happens. This is not a stretch at all. Well, the neighborhood's screwed. But thanks to the lobbyists, and the big lobby for this was the there's actually, did you know that there's actually a national association of homeowners association? There's actually an organization that is for homeowners associations, and they lobbied heavily against it. And who is it? The congressman, what's his name? Bill Nelson. He voted against this bill, and it was his vote that killed the bill. And because that, we can't do that. So we're all screwed. And so anyway, that's and I'm going on really long. It's like 1 a.m. I've gone really long on this. I didn't mean to, but I'm just so burned up over HOAs and management companies of HOAs. I'm really fed up with them over stupid stuff like this. That I think it's about time. About time Chi and I looked around for someplace else to live that doesn't have anything to do with an HOA, which is going to be a tall order, because it seems like it's mandated that every neighborhood has to have an HOA. I understand the benefits of HOAs, but I think the liabilities outweigh those now, this day and age. I really do. I think HOAs have outlived their usefulness for the most part. Unfortunately, we're kind of stuck with them, and they're becoming more and more intrusive every day in our lives as homeowners. So I think it's about time for Chi and I to consider moving somewhere else. Where to, though, I don't know. So anyway, so I went really, really long with this, and I apologize for that. Let's see who else is in with us in the chat here. Mike has joined us in the chat. It's good to see you, Mike. I used to work with Mike over at WFL as well. And here's to you, Mike. I want to say thanks for joining me in. I know it's kind of late. We're about to close this up, as a matter of fact. It went real long. We're 2 hours. This is a feat. This is a milestone because I've never done 2 hours on a wine stream before. It was actually supposed to be it was actually supposed to be shorter, but I went on this long rant. But I kind of want to share that with you. I want to know, do you think that I'm full of it? Do you think I'm crazy? Do you really think, okay, I may be crazy for doing this wine stream, for drinking all this wine, but am I really off base for my for my take on HOAs and management companies? Am I really that far off base on it? Am I all wet? Have I just had too much of this? Or is there something in what I'm saying? Do you agree or disagree? I want to hear what you say. Yeah, send me your thoughts. Send me your opinions, good or bad. Send them to me at rick@savoyamedia.com. That's rick at SAVOIAMEDIA.com. You can contact me about anything related to this wine stream here, and let me know. Let me know your thoughts on it. Let me know your opinions. I want to know. I do value them, and you can also reach me on the website at drinkwithrick.com. You can leave comments there. I have a contact page there as well at drinkwithrick.com, so you can leave comments there and tell me what you think. Give me your thoughts, and you can also hear the podcast. You can hear the podcast once again on iTunes. It's not iTunes anymore. I'm sorry. It's Apple Podcast. Excuse me. Apple Podcast. I should know better, right? Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. You can hear it on the Alexa. You can say, Alexa, play the Drink with Rick podcast. You have to say the Drink with Rick podcast, and then she'll find it. And if she doesn't find it, let me know, because I need to get that fixed. But she should be able to find it. You can listen on the Google Home. You can listen on Stitcher Radio. You can listen on Spotify, Blueberry.com. You can listen at a lot of different venues out there that you can hear it. You can hear it, pick it up on your favorite podcatcher, app on your mobile device, your phone, that sort of thing. Pick us up there. You can subscribe. You can subscribe to YouTube. Of course, we're on YouTube.com. Checking the live stream. We're on YouTube.com, and that's Drink with Rick channel. You can reach us on Instagram, Drink with Rick, Twitter at Drink with Rick, and Twitter looks like, nothing going on Twitter at the moment, but you can reach us there. You can reach us on the Facebook page. You can reach us on Facebook, of course, but on our Facebook page at Drink with Rick. I'm all over the place. I really am. Whether you, you'll all be pretty sick of me by the time you find all the venues I'm popping up at, and so. I'm not a podcast movement this week. Podcast movement is this coming week. Tommy and I aren't going to be there, but we are planning to be at Podfest next year in Orlando. So we're looking forward to that, and maybe we'll catch Podcast Movement next year if they move to, maybe say if they go to Atlanta, hint, or somewhere else closer in. In any case, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I want to thank you for putting up with my rants. This has been a great wine. It's actually a pretty good wine. I've gone down a little over halfway down at this bottle. and it's been a pretty good wine. Once again, this is a Hecula. It's a Monastrell. It's 2015. Winestore-online.com has it for $9.99, I believe. $9.99 or $9.95, something like that. $9.99. It's available in other places, Vivino, Wine.com, other places like that for around $12.99 a bottle. It's actually decent wine. I would recommend this wine. It's not something that I would necessarily drink by itself. I think it would go okay. It would pair okay with some grilled meats. It would be okay with some finger foods. I think would be okay with. You could drink it by itself if you want to. That's what I've been doing basically. But I would say I don't think it would pair very well with too well with pastas or anything like that, or any other not Mexican food or anything like that. I don't know. I wouldn't recommend pairing it with some of those things. It's rather tannic, so you want to choose your foods and pair them up with things that would work well with a lot of tannins that are really fruity. It's kind of a fruity wine, but it's pretty good. It's okay. It's okay. It's worth $10. It's worth $10 a bottle. I'll say that. Anyway, once again, thanks a lot for joining me on the wine stream. I hope you'll join me next week. Next week, I'm not sure what we're going to open up next week. I have a couple of wines that I picked up. One was an Overbrook, which I thought was very interesting, and it's downstairs on my wine bar. There were a couple of other wines, a couple other Italian wines that I looked at. We'll see what happens. It'll be a surprise. I'll surprise you. In any case, I hope you join me next week so we can all get together on the Saturday Night Wine Stream. We can all get together and drink with Rick. Good night.